Welcome people of the World Wide Web. So Cypher Sigma here, it's the weekend and as usual I have a movie review for you, and today we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. So before I get into it, I'm going to go a little bit. So this is one of the 8 movies that I was quite anticipated to see this year. And that's how it was. Just at the end of last year, that's how I felt. That's how I wanted to. Now, leading up to it, there has been so much stuff about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It kind of oversaturated me, and I was very much lowered my expectations going into this film. I know the art style is very similar to, or what we saw from the trailer is very similar to Into the Spider-Verse and stuff. And obviously, I had a lot of problems with the art styles of that film. So obviously casting young kids in the role was something new that they've done, and I didn't know where they were going to go with it and stuff. So I kind of had high expectations and low expectations, and then I went into it. I did enjoy it. It is an hour, just over an hour and a half, I think an hour and 38 or 9 minutes or something like that. There is a mid-credit scene, so the credits roll for I think about a minute, and then a little scene does pop up. So if you are watching this review, please go see it. And basically it is a kind of new story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They obviously grow up in the same way that they do in most cases, but the surrounding characters and the story and everything is very different to what we are used to. This does give a fresh, kind of breath of fresh air to the whole kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles storytelling. They do take elements from different series and stuff. With like April, she is the main concept of her is taken from Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was the last TV series I believe from Nickelodeon. But overall, I say I did really enjoy it. Pleasantly surprised in a lot of places. A few little bits didn't quite work for me, but I did enjoy it. So I'm gonna bang a spoiler warning, spoiler review, whatever I want to do, and we shall get into it. So thank you for staying along with the video if you're staying along. So the basic story of this starts with Baxter Stockman. Baxter Stockman has a set of little creatures, one being the Fly. He has got mutagen, and basically his experiment on them. Then TGRI, they're the company that basically are after Stockman and what he's doing. They break in, there's a big explosion. The Fly creature, who's kind of the main grown-up or the elder of the children, takes the other experiments that takes him away. Baxter Stockman is unfortunately killed in this raid, and some mutagen goes down the drain, so you know where we're going. Then it fast forwards 15-16 years. And then we meet the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles doing a kind of shopping run for Splinter, and kind of then dreaming of wanted to be out in the real world, be with the other humans and stuff like that, even though their dad is putting a phobia in them that basically they want to milk them, and there's a running theme with being milked. But there we go. Obviously, along the way, the boys, when they do these trips every so often for shopping, they like to stay out more and like to go see movies and stuff. And this is when they meet April and realise that basically they want to be recognised, and humans wouldn't really recognise them, are just coming out of the shadows and giant mutant turtles. So if they do good deeds, they think that will get them acknowledged in the world's eye, and that's kind of where the story goes. On the other side of it, as you're watching along, there is a criminal called Superfly, which is this young Fly, now old, and he's trying to build this machine, so he gets humans to rob stuff, and it's the Turtles kind of coincide with seeing him, meeting the other mutants, and then there is kind of a good versus evil clash at the end. And that is just the story. There are a lot of twists and turns to it, but I'm not going to give it up. So first of all, we will go for the acting. So I think the kids are more or less unknown who play them, and that already on the first point was something that actually worked really well. I'm surprised it worked as well. Like, we're used to voice actors and stuff playing it, but the people and the kids playing these main actors and how they are then animated to kind of meet their characteristics and just how they act in general is very much like teenagers would. This is, I would probably say, the most conceptually relevant teenagers to it. You know, we get a lot of stuff like Power Rangers stuff where it's teenagers, but it's like adults playing teenagers. Where this is teenagers playing teenagers, and they play it really, really well. It was a very good idea for Seth Rogen and that to come up with this concept and to implement it, that he wanted young kids. Obviously, all the other actors and actresses are all well-known, high ones. Up you have John Cena, Paul Rudd, Rudolph, I think, or Roldoff or whatever, from Bridesmaids and stuff. And a few other people. Seth Rogen obviously does one of the voices as well, and Ice-T as Superfly. And for the most part, you know, those voices work really, really well. For me, there's a few characters that they have, like Ray Fillet and stuff, that didn't really kind of merge. To me, they seemed a little bit oddball. They seemed a bit out of place. I don't know if it's maybe the design and the voice actor, or it's one or the other. And there were a few little bits in it, but they're only minor characters, so it doesn't really affect the plot too much. Jackie Chan as Splinter was amazing, and it is, you know, and how he progresses through the story is really good. So obviously you get to meet the Turtles as teenagers, and then you have the flashback a little way. The flashback is done really good. Splinter is de-aged. He is looking like he's from the 80s. They watches, or they have reference to TV clips that even have Jackie Chan in there, to how they learn martial arts. And obviously the kids were absolutely adorable of how little turtles were, and then sleeping with their father and stuff like this. And it was these little bits that already within the first 20 minutes, half an hour, was like, this is amazing, you know. We've had so many iterations of the Turtles. This is what was kind of overwhelming me before going in. And this story just, you know, all worked so well together, all these elements, whether it was planned to or whether it was just they altered it as they went along and it kind of all clicked into place. But it was very, very good. You know, I was loving it. It all makes sense. It's a different story. It's a breath of fresh air. The kids, you know, they bring a different angle, a different characteristic to the characters, you know, and it just is of, obviously, you know, they want to be humans, which made kind of sense for them, and to make them a bit more relevant. Now I know I'm going to go on one of the major bits that I thought would be a hint. So it's the art style. So the art style, yes, does take a few nods to Into the Spider-Verse. I believe the first one, that they do acknowledge it in IMDb. There was some credit from it. They do this, in my perspective, so much more better in this movie than they do in the Spider-Verse. So it is a very rough brush style, so nothing is necessarily perfect, so it's not all confined, but you can still tell what's on there. Like, you know, the Turtles will be sitting there and they'll be a poster on the wall, and you can tell it's a poster, you can tell it's some sort of symbol. Donnie has a periodic table behind him. You kind of know it looks like a periodic table, even though you can't see the elements and stuff. But they go outside and there's buildings and stuff that are really good. The further backgrounds are a little bit blurrier, but you still know it's a building, so you can still tell what is a window. There is green marks either side of the screen when they're watching the movie to illustrate leaves and trees and stuff like that. Again, it works really well. It is one style. They keep consistency. This is the one thing that has been kind of the bugbear for me of there, is that when you are creating a film, you are creating a world, and with world building, you need consistency. You need something that merges it, and Turtles do it well. Like the few flashbacks, they do kind of alter the style very little bit. Kind of a little bit like Puss in Boots, the Star one, whatever that movie was. When the fight scene, they have one kind of different flash type art style, and then they go back to this normal style, more or less keep it fluidity throughout the rest of the film. This is what this does. It has a flashback and it has a few little clips, kind of like comic booky, and then you never really see it again. How they are animated, it is almost a little bit between kind of the Wallace and Gromit feel animated, and I think one of the directors, he did the Mitchells movie, which is from a few years ago, and you can tell that. But this style, it just works so well across the board. You know, there's little swirls and stuff on their patterns and stuff, and you think that looks really weird, but it just merges and it just works so well. In the background, you can see all the stuff, you know what the items are. When they raid back to stop, you can see the test tube, you can see the creatures, you can see the stuff, and I say this is, you know, and for me, when there are points when they leave the movie and when they're walking through the sewers and they look through the drains and you see like Times Square and stuff like that, and you know exactly what these places are, you know exactly what they look, the details are the same, the characters all fit into the same world, and you just have like almost an emotional link to everything, and I superb. I was like, for everything, even when I was really excited for this movie kind of has excelled above that in my eyes. But yeah, I absolutely loved the art style, and I think it worked really well. It took me a little while to warm more to it because I didn't know how inconsistent it would be. But it's just once you get from it's that style, the whole world is in that style, and the turtles and the characters, and it all merges into one. And even when they're running, and everything it's just so nice. I get that obviously the Spider-Verse is different dimensions, but with each dimension there were so many inconsistencies for me, and it just distracted you. Whereas here, it makes you in awe. You're looking at the main characters and you can see the background and you know exactly what is going on, where they are. And I would love to have known how many animators and how long this film took to make compared to Spider-Verse, because I feel this is visually a far better looking movie than that one. And to be honest, the amount of details and stuff that was done probably took a lot more time than probably Spider-Verse did in a lot of retrospects. Some style, because it is a little bit flashy and wavy over there, it might have been a little bit easier, but because of the consistency, you get used to it, and your mind all logs it in and you knows exactly what you're after. So that is obviously a massive bonus point for me. For the story, for the most part, throughout of it, really liked it. There was one or two little bits when Superfly kind of goes Superfly. I'm not going to give too much away on that one. There was like a 5 kind of minute was a bit like, oh, I'm not quite sure what's happening here. I think maybe the story had been shuffled a little bit, or maybe there just was a little lost connection. Or maybe that was the whole point of that, to have that kind of lost connection, because they kind of change up the story and then there is kind of a revelation that happens slightly after that. Really liked it. Really liked the voice actors and stuff. I said there was a few characters that I didn't like. The other thing, music choices. They did go with kind of the rap R&B on one standpoint, and then they had a few classic like kind of the La-Dia Heart. That song was featured in there, and I was just like, some stuff like, I don't know why you've chosen this music. Like Ice Cube is the bad guy, and I would expect sort of music like that to represent him because it fits with his voice and his style, and maybe with and the name Superfly, stuff like that. But these songs were then featured with the turtles and scenes, and to me it didn't blend very well. It was poor music choices on that, so I do have to say that is a bit of a negative side on me. But overall, apart from a few music choices and a few character designs and a little bit of the story, it is amazing. I'd say like really rejuvenated. Wanted me to buy the figures, and then I looked at the figures and I'm still not happy with the figures, so I'm not going to buy any of them. I must admit a few things that I noticed. So TGRI, the first word in TGRI is techno, so it makes me think that they're linked with Krang. Obviously the spoiler bit is Shredder will be in probably a second one if they get one. I think it will probably do quite well. It will get a second one. I do think the lady who was kind of the head of TGI, she had glasses that very look like Krang, so I feel like she is maybe a robot and has a Krang body in there, or she's controlled by Krang, or maybe she is a new version of Krang or whatever. That's kind of my working theory of that. But I mean, overall, I have to give this movie 8.5 out of 10. Like, as I say, the animation style, the consistency, the story, the acting, all the fresh ideas, it's just something that isn't out there for the Turtles world. And we've had a lot of stuff from the Turtles world, a lot of incarnations of them. And I think this stands very much alone, present. So I'm very happy to have it as like 8.5 out of 10. The music choices, a few of the character designs a little bit do let it down in my eyes, so it won't make it to a 10. Who knows, when I watch it, when I buy it on live, I may even buy a special edition because I did absolutely love it. But yeah, the style and everything is top notch. I have to commend Seth Rogen. I'm not his biggest fan all the time, but he's done really well. Anyway, I know this is getting a long video. That has been my movie review for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Have you seen the film? What did you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Please let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, I shall definitely see you next one.